Hello everyone, it's great to see you in this tutorial. This is actually the second part of our showcase. In the first part, I took SystemFlow for Figma and I've created UIKit landing page that right now I'm going to translate into a working website in Webflow. So what we have in here is a landing page. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I managed to create this landing page in about half an hour with explanation in Figma using SystemFlow for Figma. And now what we'd like to do is take all the components, all the text styles and everything else and put it inside of Webflow. So here I have a clean version of SystemFlow in Webflow. Just remember to always make a copy of SystemFlow that you have in your Webflow's dashboard so that you can keep a clean copy for future projects. So this is a duplicate of SystemFlow, and on the home page I basically have nothing. So I cleaned this home page and I have some components that now I want to transfer from Figma to Webflow. So in Figma it goes from bottom to top. So you have navbar light, which happens to be the first component. Just double click on the name of the component and now you can copy this name of component. Command E in Webflow will let you search for any element. You then press Command V and return, and that's it. So this is how you copy and paste components into Webflow. It's as easy as selecting next elements, copying the name of the elements, Command E, then Command V, return, and here we go. Now I have this feature left 3 element, and the next 2 elements are actually copies of this feature left 3. So instead of using left 4 and left 5, I'm just going to use left 3 once again and change it into, I think I need to use right 3. And this will let me have the text to the right, and now feature left 3 once again. And here we have those 3 components. Next up, we have this feature grid with 3 columns vertical. Let's double click and copy and Command E, paste it, return. Here we have it. Next up, there is testimonial section with 2 columns. So we just copy the name of the component, and having the same naming structure for both Figma and Webflow version lets us easily copy and paste the names. So please keep in mind that you'd like to keep the names of the components. Don't change them while you detach them from the master component. And this way, it would be super easy to later on use the same names in Webflow. So here I have the last component. This is footer dark free, and I have the structure of my document from Figma translated to Webflow. So everything is here, and now I need to unlink those instances. This is Shift Command A, by the way, in Webflow. So it's so much easier not to right click and unlink, but just select the component and then Shift Command A, and we go from bottom to top, and then we unlink those components. And this is especially because we want to easily change the elements inside of those components. We don't want to go in the components, but we want to change it on our page, and we don't really change custom code. Just leave it just under the body is the right place for custom code. We're going to start from top to bottom now, and let's take a look at the navbar. I don't need that drop down, so I'm going to delete it. We can put the real data in this nav links, and this is FAQ. This one would be pricing, and also CTA. So our button, we're going to change the text, and we can do it with an override. So you don't really need to unlink the buttons. If you go to its override to the settings, if you press D on the keyboard, here you have the text for the button. Usually you're just going to leave buttons as components. But by the way, I need to change this button because I have some rounded corners for my buttons in Figma. So let me go to this components section and then to button. In here, you'll be able to modify all the buttons throughout the framework. But what we have here is some tabs such as customize and components, and also this SystemFlow left-hand side element that we want to hide. So let's first go to this customize page. And on the very bottom of the left pane of customize page, there is Docs UI text block that we want to make display none. And now if we go back to this button page, you can see that it's much cleaner. It's easier to work with on this documentation like that in Webflow. Later on, you can always show it and publish. So here we have customize section, and in this section we can edit padding, text size, and border radius. So we're going to start from our first button. Let's select this button, let's go to radius, and let's set the border radius to 4. Also, we need to change it for the small version of the button. So let's do border radius for small button as well. And here we have the hover state. As you can see, Webflow is having this hover state with the border radius of 4 as well, but somehow it's not showing it properly. But if you go to the preview, you'll see that everything is fine here. So we have border radius for our buttons. And while we're here, let's do it for fluid buttons as well. So let's select this button fluid class and change the radius to 4, as well as button fluid small combo class. And here we have 4 pixel border radius as well. If you want to edit colors and states, you also have some things in, you can look in this customize section. But for us right now, everything is set. What we need to do now is change the color of this button, and this happens to be our primary color, primary 60. So let's select it in Figma, right click in there, and let's edit so that we can copy the properties of this color. And let's copy this hex value. If you can't easily select this color, just select any other element with this primary 60 color. Now let's edit this swatch in Webflow, and let's have this hex value here. Just don't forget to save the changes in here. You'd have to press save in there, and you'll see that everything is changed throughout the framework. So this color is now applied. You can also go to the color page, and this specific page will let you easily transfer colors from Figma. If you go to color page in our framework in Figma, you'll see that we have swatches element. So this component can be exported as PNG file, and now it can be placed in there. So let's replace this dummy image to the right hand side, and let's put our color scheme exported from Figma. And this will give you a quick way of changing the presets that we have in here, swatches in Webflow. So we definitely need to change this secondary 60 color, and also maybe a few more colors for some layouts. In this case, we have primary 10 that we'll need to adjust from light blue to light pink because we use it as background for most of the sections. So you just adjust the swatch, you just edit the swatch, and you select it from the eyedropper. Then you save this swatch so that you have it saved throughout the framework. And by the way, this eyedropper is available from the Chrome extension, Webflow Chrome extension. So if you don't have it, just please make sure that you install it. You select it with the eyedropper, you make sure you save this primary 10 swatch, and now we have all the changes applied to our layout. For example, this primary 10 is now set as a background for our icons and some buttons. Now let's take a look at brand logo. So this is actually a symbol. It was nested symbol inside the navbar, but now we have navbar unlinked, and this brand logo is still a symbol. If we go inside and we go to settings, we can click on the main symbol image and choose this image and change it. This is important so that we do it in this main master component, because we want this component to change throughout the entire framework. So let's just export this logo as SVG, and I'm going to keep it in one folder. Basically, later on, I'm going to export all of the graphic assets to this one folder. Now let's import that into Webflow and change it. Now we'd like to go to styles and change the size, the height of this element so that we can change the size of the logo. I need 2.1 rems for the size of it, and now we have this brand logo set. And as this is a symbol component, it will be the same in all of the nav bars, and it will translate to every component in the system that uses logo. All right, for the nav bar, we need to change its position. You can go with fixed, or you can go with sticky. If you go with fixed and you set it to be 0, 0, 0 for left, top, and right, it's going to be work okay. But if you use sticky, you don't need to apply and adjust margins to the top of the next element. So I think it's better to choose the position sticky and to place it 0% left, top, and right. And also because we have white navbar background and white page background, I'd like to have this border set to neutral 30, maybe 1 pixel hairline border below this navbar element would be a nice addition, because if we go to preview, you'll see that it now lets me differentiate this navbar from the rest of the page. And I guess right now the navbar is ready so that we can proceed to the next element. And this happens to be our hero section. So the hero section has a few things that we need to apply and adjust. First, let's get rid of this linear gradient as our background. And we want to apply a color to the background. This happens to be our primary 60 color. This is how we can change it. And now for the heading and body text, we'd also need to change the color. So now the question is whether we'd like to change it for all of the headers, or we just want to change it for this particular header. If we take a look at the structure of the page, we have only one H1 heading. This is XL heading. But before we make changes to this particular heading style, what we need to set is the base font for our website. And once we've designed it on Windows, we had Sego UI as a base font here. We use it throughout our headings and body copy and everything else. But on Mac, we cannot really use Sego. So instead, I'm going to select body all pages. And then I'm going to switch from Inter to System UI font. This way, we're going to use Helvetica on Mac. And on PC, on Windows, we're going to have Sego as a default font. So this is the trick I'm going to use for this website. And now let's check out the properties for the fonts if we need to adjust the size, because now we have the size equal to 1 rem and the line height to 1.5. So what you want to look at is this body text medium, which happens to be the base font size for our project. And you can also preview that using a plugin that's called Batch Styler. And I use it all the time because it will let you quickly preview the text styles and their properties and also translate it into Webflow. So here we have the font size of 16, and this happens to be the base font size for every modern browser, and it will keep us at 1 rem. And for 1.5, we have 24, which happens to be exactly the same as we used in our design. So 1 rem would be 16 and 1.5 would be 24. So we are set with those values. We don't need to change them. For the heading though, we have 38 and 44 line height. So let's go back to this pixel to rem calculator and let's see where we have this 38. It's 2.375. So it's exactly the same as we have. But for the line height, let's calculate this into rems. This is 44. Let's go back to the calculator, and this is 2.75 rem. So let's copy that and paste into this field, return, and here we have the right line height according to our layout. Now let's change the color, and the question is whether we'd like to change it for all the headings XL, and I want to do it in this particular case because there's only one heading XL, so I don't need to use class or anything like this. I'm just going to paste the text in here, and also for body text, I'm going to change it to neutral 10 as well. So this is going to be my default for body text as well, large at least, and inside I'm going to place the text that I have in my clipboard, create a link in here, and also fix the links across our framework. Let's go to link styles, and let's check the link settings in color where they inherit their values from, and this is from all links. So let me select all links HTML tag and now change the color to our secondary 60 color. That's it. And now we need to also change the tagline. This has to be secondary 60 as well. So all the taglines will be pink. And for the buttons, let's check our buttons. We have button with an icon here. This is button ghost. So we need to make sure that we have the proper types of the buttons here. So let's select CTA's wrapper. Let's search for button outline with an icon. And the icon needs to be to the left, so the second one. Now let's change the icon, and you just do it by typing the name of this icon from Material Design Library. And now let's change the text to get free demo. And our button is, I think, almost ready. Now we need another one. Let's Command E, search for this ghost button, and this is medium ghost button with only text. Let's place it here. Now we can get rid of the old buttons and take this button separator and put it between two buttons. Now let's change the text for this button to view pricing in the override, and also take care of this extra padding or margin on top. Let me see. So on the CTA wrapper, maybe let's switch to display flex, and okay, this fixes that. Now what we need to do is change the state, the hover state for this button. Let's double click and go to its hover state and change the text color, and this goes text only button for all the buttons from our primary 50 that we didn't adjust it to neutral 10. I think that's correct. Let me preview that, and by the way, handy shortcut for preview is Command Shift P. And also we need to change the color of this outline. So let's go back to the very same state of this button. Now let's switch to the hover state, and in the effects pane you have this box shadow, which is the effect that we're looking for, and we need to change this color to our secondary 60. Now let's preview once again, and let's see the hover effect. I think it's pretty nice. Okay, so here we have the section, but we also need to change the image, and we need to change all the images in here, so it's easier to, from Figma, just batch export the images so that we have everything in place in Webflow. And how I do that? Well, I just select the images. So I command click or command shift click on the images that I want to export from my layout, and I simply put them aside. So I just duplicate them and put aside. I press and hold Option, Alt on PC, and I take this graphic and take this outside, this one as well. And in a second, I'm going to batch save them, and I'm going to do it in two runs. The first one will be for PNG graphics, that will be photos, and the second one for vector graphics. I'm going to save all the vector graphics as SVGs. Now this one, we're going to Option drag it. Let's take the next one as well to the side, and this asset, and also those icons. We have this icon placeholder too as the name for all of our icons, and this is not really smart. So it would be better to give them proper names so that when we save them, we can easily import and make sense of the names of these icons in Webflow. But yeah, for now, let's just have those. Okay, this lock icon is just the icon, so I don't need to export it. And this SystemFlow logo hasn't even been changed, so I'm going to create new logo later. Now let's take a look at all of the graphics that we have, and those are vectors, and this one is PNG. So let's select first all the PNGs, export them as PNG in 2x scale. That will give us really crisp image on Retina displays. I'm going to just show you how to import them into Webflow in a sec. Now let's select all the vector graphics, and the vector graphics we're going to export in SVG in 1x scale. Now let's go to assets in Webflow, and let's select all of the assets that we've exported. Now you can see that the naming structure for the icons really just makes me feel a bit stupid, but I guess this is not as much important, because when you import those icons, you'll still have them in assets, you'll still have the preview. And for modern browsers, what's much more important than the name of this icon, which actually will be changed by the Webflow CDNs, is the alt tag for the icon that you'd need later on to adjust in the assets panel. Now let's replace this image, and let's select this video hero image here. And by the way, we need to make sure that the function is all right as well. So let's press add, and let's use this slider here, or Lightbox, maybe Lightbox. This will allow us to put the hero image into the Lightbox link, and it will give us a nice model window for the video that we'd like to play from this hero image. As you can see, the setup for this additional function on our website is pretty straightforward. Let's center this image inside of the Lightbox, and for the Lightbox link, let's just justify this to the center. I think that's pretty much all we need to do right now, and we can focus on the effects. Maybe let's apply some box shadow to this hero image. Let's have 10, 20, and 0, and change the blackness, the black transparency here, so that we have just a subtle shadow below the video. I guess this is pretty neat. Okay, and we can proceed to the next section. So for the feature icon, the way you can think of improving the this component that we have is to make sure that we don't use this material icon, but instead in the feature icon wrapper, what we're going to do is just first delete this material icon, and make an image inside of this component. So I'm not going to unlink it, but in the feature icon wrapper, I'm just going to upgrade this component so that it has image inside, and I'm going to select the sample image here. Let's select the first icon that we'd like to use. And of course, this icon is now applied to all of the component instances. But what we want to do is in the image settings, we want to click on this new override field. Let's give it a name image and create a link. This way we have our component, and in the overrides, we now don't have this icon, but we can replace images easily. So this is pretty cool. We just, upgraded and customized SystemFlow to our needs by changing this component, and still we can easily use overrides and all the SystemFlow functions to use it properly. And this is only few clicks now to change all the icons here. Now let's select and copy and paste the real copy that we'd like to use here. And also let's do it for the body text element as well. Command A, I'm going to select it and paste the proper text. But what's more important is every time I approach new element in this layout, so for example, heading 3 right now, I consulted with the design. So this is heading S, small heading. And now I check in Figma. I actually have Figma opened in on my second display, and I apply the settings to the font weight. I changed it to semi-bold, and also to the font size and to the line height. So I make sure that every time I reach some new element, I change the properties here according to the design. And I have 1.4 RAM size, and also I change the line height to 1.8. So this is one way we can deal with that. And the second is obviously going to typography and changing everything. But I guess while we have this really simple landing page, it's so much easier to just adjust the settings of the elements that are actually on this landing page. So you can do it like this. So again, right now I'm editing heading large for the first time on this page. So I'm going to change the text, but also consult it with Figma and see whether all the H2 heading settings are in place. So I'm going to check the font size and also adjust the line height so that we have 2.25 rems and it's according to the design. Okay, now let's change the weight to semi-bold as well. And if you want to change the color of the fraction of the text, for example, this pixel perfect text, let's wrap it in a span and let's go to typography settings where we can change the color to our secondary 60 color, like so. Okay, now let's delete this button. Let's use the button that we have in the first section. I'm just going to copy and paste the button here in the CTA's wrapper. I'm going to delete the first one. And if you want to add something extra to such component, and in our case, this is an unordered list with icons, you're going to first search for this list in the framework, and only if it doesn't exist in the framework, you'd like to use native Webflow components. So now I'm going to search for a list with icons, unordered list with icons, and here we have it. If you want to, let's reposition it. If you want to change icons, you can do it right now and it will change all the icons, but this check icon is exactly the one that we want to use. So let's now unlink the instance, select the icon list item, Command C and Command V, paste it so that we have one more, and also change the color of this material icons. Let's select material icons here, and we can change it throughout the entire combo class here so that we have lists with pink icons with our secondary 60 color applied. Okay, so we have this component almost ready. There is only one element missing. We need to duplicate the body text. Let's Command C and Command V the body text and reorganize the item so that we have this body text bold. I'm going to select and make it bold and also paste the copy that we need in here, and let me copy and paste the copy just below the header 3 as well. I'm going to just make the bullets later. For the next components, we'll do the same, and those components have different images. Let's replace them, but also they have different backgrounds. So we have this image here and black background. And for the third component, we have this primary 60 color background. We also have margins between those sections. So this is pretty easy to apply, and we can think of one way of doing that. We can use classes from SystemFlow, or we can just select this section box wrapper and add a combo class, which is our own custom combo class. So maybe let's do it this way. We have two properties to change, so let's create a custom wrapper 1, and this new class will have the information about margin. We're going to set it to 64 pixels, as well as we need to change the background to black color, or this neutral 100 from our swatches. And now the second box wrapper, let's have this custom box wrapper 2. And another combo class would give us, again, 64 pixel margin to the top. And this time we're going to change the background to our primary 60 color. So yeah, we could have add a margin class as well as color class. That would be two classes added to this element, or we can create our custom class and just, change all the properties that we'd like. To the contrary, for our heading large, which happens to be black here, and we need it white in there, what we can do is, instead of applying our own class, we can use class from SystemFlow, that's color, text, and now we're going to select neutral 20. For the body text in here, also, we need to add an extra combo class, color, text, neutral 20. And for this color text primary, we just need to change the class to color text secondary 60. So you can either add your own classes, or you can apply some combo classes from the framework to the elements that are kind of unique on the page. And this way, you won't modify the whole body text or all the headings. So the same we're going to apply to a heading here. Let's have this color primary. Let's have 10 for this one. And the button is, I think, yeah, we need to delete it. We need to add some custom elements such as lists, and also another body element in this box. Let's delete the CES wrapper. Now let's reuse the list that we already have. So let's copy and paste the entire list element under the body text. And all we need to do is to add an extra class to this list, which is color text, and we're going to use neutral 20. And that's it. We don't really need this get started button, I guess. Yeah, let's get rid of the button here, delete it, and delete the CTA's wrapper. And for the second component, we'd like to copy and paste this body text so that we have another, and that's bold. And yeah, this is it. I think that we have those components ready. So let's go to the feature icons here. You can see that it's super easy to replace those icons because it's the same component. So now we can use overrides to change the icons. And I also need to replace the text, but I'm going to just do it later. For this happy customer section, we don't need a heading. Let's delete that, and let's delete the body text as well. Here, this wrapper has a little bit too much of a margin or padding, so we can check the margin here. The padding is 64. So what we can do is change the padding for wrapper M, but we can also add a class. It can be custom class, or we can just use our margin classes, our spacing classes, which are spacing, padding, and then top. And we need to change it to, let's say, 0. And now we've overwritten only one instance of this wrapper M class with our combo class. And thanks to that, we are safe because there are a lot of different wrapper M's on our page, and would be in trouble if we change them. So let's replace this and put the images here. And once we are ready, we can proceed to the pricing section, which is just a little bit more complicated because we've added some new element in Figma there. And also we'd like to change this buy now button and make it a select. So what we need to do is we need to just create it from scratch because there is no select button in SystemFlow just yet. So let's have a dropdown, a native dropdown in Webflow. And this body text we can delete. We don't really need that. And what we want to do is to place the button inside of the dropdown. So let's have this button fluid inside of dropdown toggle. By the way, we just really need this text, so we can delete this button, and we can delete another text block here. So we have button text and icon, and the dropdown toggle is now inside of the dropdown. What we can do is apply a class to this toggle, that's button fluid, and also medium, so that we have the proper size. And for the dropdown, let's change the display to block. It looks pretty much okay. Now let's preview that. Okay, we need to change the hover state. So let's proceed to button fluid, and let's go to its hover state, change the color, the background color in this state from primary 50 to primary 60. By the way, we could just edit our primary 50 color, which is used in some instances of the elements, and that would be fixed automatically. Now, to the left-hand side, we also need to change the hover state. For this button, we need to change the typography color to our neutral 10 or 20. I think 10 is all right. And also we have this strange padding here. Let's see, in button fluid, we have margin set to 8. So let's just delete that class. And this guy, by the way, strange colors here, we need to change it as well. We have this organization class, but it changes only the color. So let's get rid of this organization class altogether with the margins. Now the margins are fine. And let's reapply the class, but this time we're going to change the background. So color background secondary 60. And now it looks okay. And also for the hover state, that's fine because we have our primary 60 color. Now for the pricing card, we need to readjust the radius. I guess that I need 8 pixel border radius for all the cards, and it looks pretty much okay. Again, I'm using Command-Shift-P to preview. Now we have this hover states, select, and also nice hover effects for the buttons. So I guess that the pricing is almost ready. Almost, because we need one more component that we've created from scratch. I mean, from one of our components in Figma. We need these 3 sections here. And again, if you want to add something to the page, to the component, I think it's best to first search in our framework. So to search in the components or templates, for example, feature grid, if you have something that's pretty similar, you don't want to redo it or use native Webflow components. This one is similar, but this one is even better, I guess. This feature grid with 4 columns, we still need to delete 1 column, but it's fine. So let's click on the name of this component. And if you want to add it inside of a wrapper, Command E and then press return, you cannot really do it because you can't place section elements inside one another. So what you do instead is you select body, then Command E, then Command V and return. And now you unlink this instance and you search in this symbol whatever you need to use. In our case, this is LG4 columns that has this feature blocks. You can copy that and just delete the entire section. And now once you have it in your clipboard, you can go to the wrapper and just paste it in there. So here we have 4 elements. Let's have this feature block deleted, and we now have 3. We need to adjust the grid. Let's edit the grid and delete one of the columns. And this looks pretty much okay. We'd still need to apply some margin or padding. So let's accept the changes and apply another class to these LG4 columns. That's going to be our spacing margin top of 38 pixels. Let's apply that, and we'd still need to change icons, but it's super easy because we have overrides and we can change the icon text. So if you use lock, we're going to have a nice icon. I'm going to do it later. For now, we have our pricing almost ready. We also need to get rid of this body text here, and that's it. So frequently asked questions, that's pretty much the same. I haven't changed anything in the in Figma. And also footer, it's super easy to adjust. We just need to change the copy. Okay, now let's take a look at the responsive versions of our page. And this is where you'd expect a lot of extra work, I suppose. But guess what? We have all the components responsive by default. So if you don't mess around a lot, you don't really have to change a lot of properties here. So for example, the CTA's wrapper, okay, that would look better if centered. So let's go to styling and let's change the justify option to center. And for the most of the rest of the components, I think it's looking pretty much okay. Here is great. Here, I don't know. I'm not sure about the images. So maybe we'll just get rid of those images starting from tablet. So let's change the display option in the layout section to none for this image, for this one as well. We don't want to delete the images. We just want to hide them so that they appear only on desktop. This section is okay. Testimonials, I guess those are okay. This is the narrowest point of tablet, so that's fine. For the pricing section, maybe it doesn't look super well, but I think I'm going to leave it for now. And this can be in 3 columns still, so I'm going to delete 1 row and I'm going to leave 3 columns. That's okay. Frequently asked questions, it looks really, really okay. So I don't need to adjust this and footer as well. So let's press 3 on the keyboard to go to mobile horizontal view, and FAQ looks okay. I think this is okay as well. We might change it to one column, but I'm going to leave it for now. And then we also have pricing and testimonials. Now testimonials are below each other, so that's fine. And this is by default in our component. And for those elements, for those sections, I think we can get rid of this extra margin. So let's delete margin here. I'm going to reset it to 0. Maybe I'd add some extra padding on top and bottom for these sections. The top section looks okay, so let's press 4 and proceed to the last mobile version. We need to change this button. That might be a mistake in the framework. We need to go inside and justify it center. I guess that's better. And also for the mobile section, this is looking pretty much okay. And for the spacing, it's fine as well, I guess. Maybe a bit more padding would be fine. And here for this section, for example, we can change the padding. So it's instead of 64, it's, for example, 32. And now it's a bit better. And for the pricing, that's fine. Those sections, we need to split them into separate rows. So let's edit the grid and change its settings so that we have one column and add some extra rows. On top of that, we need 3 rows and automatically it's all set. For the FAQ, we probably need to change the top padding to 32 as well. Now it's better, and the footer should be all right because we haven't changed anything in there. This way, believe it or not, we are ready with responsive versions of our page. We have tablet, mobile, and we can preview that. We can also check how the menu works because automatically we get this hamburger with the menu items. It looks okay on mobile and also on tablet. One thing I don't really like is this black background that we need to change. So let's go back to the designer. Let's open this menu, and in its open state, let's change the typography as well as background. So let's first change the background color, and we need to set it to transparent. And for typography, let's make sure that we have this neutral 100. So our black color for the menu, Command-Shift-P for preview. And I think that it's really, really nice. Obviously, we can make some additional tweaks, but I think that our website in all of the responsive breakpoints, especially on desktop, is almost ready. What I need to do is to replace the text from the original copy that I have. But apart from that, you always benefit for spending a few minutes on some extra final touches, such as animations. So let's select our hero image. Let's go to interactions. And from there, you can select scroll into view. And now let's use one of the predefined animations. We're going to use grow in this case, and it's super easy to apply. Then you can use grow in without any offset, and let's set the delay to 150 milliseconds. Now let's preview that, and it's ready. It's a nice animation. It will open your page with this animation. We're going to use it only for desktop and above, and we're going to apply this kind of animations to some other elements on our website, for example, these images, and we also need to animate pricing. This is super easy, so let's refresh and take a look at how it looks with just a few more tweaks and the ready-made copy that is on our page. You can scroll through the page. There are some built-in animations for the pricing as well, and we have frequently asked questions and the footer. The copy is there and it's working really fine. So this is how you translate a ready-made design made with Figma and SystemFlow into a working website in Webflow and SystemFlow. And we made it in 38 minutes with my clunky explanations. And the previous part, the design part, we made in about 30 minutes. So adding that up, we have just over 1 hour from a blank page in Figma to ready-made design to ready-made website. Now I encourage you to try SystemFlow and let us know what you think about the framework, and also send us your work so that we can showcase it on our website. Thanks a lot and see you in our next tutorials.